All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Gold Rush Weekly Watch List. Today's Sunday, January 28th. So lots of activity going on in the market this week. Lots of big names going through earnings. Before I get into those, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the catalysts that we have for this week. So let's see. And it's an interesting time for some of these catalysts because of where price action is with SPX. And we'll talk about it shortly. So just looking through Monday, not much going on with Monday, just a bunch of earnings, right? Some of the bigger names, JetBlue, Spirit, Fisker, right? Tuesday, Microsoft, Google, AMD report earnings. Wednesday, we have QCOM, we have Boeing, we have, let's see, there's a merger between Immunogen and AbbVie, which goes to a shareholder vote. So that might be something interesting to trade. Let's see what else we have. And then on Thursday or on Wednesday, we have a FOMC decision press conference at 2 o'clock, followed by the Chair Powell press conference at 2:30. So 2 o'clock, 2:30 volatility event. So as you know, typically there's two ways to do it. There's three ways to do it. One way is to wait, chill, maybe scalp a couple of trades in the morning, and then come 2 p.m. pretty much stay out of everything up until 2 p.m. where you can scalp the volatility move upside or downside. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is trade as if it doesn't exist and hope that you pick the direction the right way, which I do not advise. And the final way to do it would be to just chill, take the morning off, essentially chill, and then wait until after 2 o'clock to kind of see where the market takes SPX and tech and all these names to see if it gives you a good move after the press conference, right after 2:30. Pretty much trading power hour, pretty much. So it's up to you how you want to do it. If you've been in the group, then you know that we usually trade the straddle. So we'll set one up for you for this week as well for the minutes on Wednesday. And then Thursday we have Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and or Apple, Amazon, and Meta earnings. And then Friday we have AbbVie, Chevron, XOM, and also jobs report. Now there's another big week for volatility this entire week. There's a bunch of events occurring this week, starting on the 29th, tomorrow. I would urge you to go ahead and take a look at the economic calendar channel. It has everything listed there. So just take a quick look. But besides that, besides what's going on there, there's big week, every day, massive earnings, right? AMD, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Meta, SoFi, Google, SMCI, which was a killer, right? Boeing, Pfizer, XOM, QCOM, CLF, CVX, Altria, RCL, Starbucks, UPS, just massive week. BMY, AbbVie, JetBlue, who else? MasterCard and Visa, I think. And we also have U.S. Steel. So a lot of very interesting names. The biggest names being Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Google. AMD, another massive name nowadays. So just keep your eyes on it, right? And then take a look at the calendar posted in earnings this week channel, and just make sure that if you're in a position this entire week, I'll be scalping. I'll be scalping for 20%, 30%. If I buy multiple runners, then I'll probably leave one. But for the most part, everything is sold by 25, 30%. I'm not holding for more, especially with the way the market kind of anticipates some of these earnings reports. It's not gonna just give you a massive move. It might just go sideways all week, right? Until we get to the end of the week with Apple reporting on Thursday, right? And Amazon and Meta reporting on Thursday. So just keep that in mind. Don't expect like a massive trend week or anything like that. Just because we're in a time where there's some uncertainty in the market, obviously, with what these companies are going to say, especially Microsoft and Apple especially Microsoft that has the largest market cap right now of all companies. So keep it in mind. All right, let's go through our list. We do have a lot to discuss today. I'm going to go through it as quickly as possible because I don't want to keep us here for too long. This is SPX. This is the daily chart on SPX. And just as a reminder, the red line is a 50-day moving average. This one here, this peach line, I believe is a 100-day moving average. Oh, that's an anchored VWAP. You can ignore that. Actually, I'll get rid of that. Yellow line is a 200-day moving average. And this peach line down here is a 100-day moving average, I believe. right? So 100, 250. And there's a 20 sometimes there is, it depends on the chart. But so we have SPX well above its moving averages, higher highs and higher lows. And then SPX also, if I recall correctly, let's go to the monthly. Yeah, SPX is making all new all-time highs on this candlestick. So this is the monthly chart. SPX brand new, fresh all-time highs. Now, what I expect to happen with this at some point is, and I'm not saying it's going to happen this week, but if it were to start to happen this week, due to this catalyst that we have, it wouldn't be entirely a shock, right? I think that, this is just an easy level for us to come back and retrace to, especially like previous resistance here and here. We can come back and retest it as support. A bad report on Apple, a bad report on Microsoft can easily bring this right back to this line very quickly. The only thing is like SPX, those reports come out after market. So we're not going to get a clean line. We're going to get maybe gaps and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. But I think that there's definitely a strong trend here to the upside. You see the lows are getting higher. You see the highs are getting higher as well. I can almost, and it depends on how you draw this, but you can almost kind of form a rising wedge on this. I'm just going to leave this as is. I think that we might be peaking out here soon. I just went through a couple of people's Twitter feeds that I trust to kind of see where their head is at. Bigger traders, macro traders or whatever the case is. Not options like that, but more like, they trade futures and commodities, etc. And everyone's saying that this can go higher. Everyone's saying, some of the big guys are saying 5,000 by February, which is right there pretty much. Somebody's holding 5,400 calls for the end of the year, which is way up here, right? And then I think everyone's just overwhelmingly bullish. I'm also very bullish. However, I think that in terms of like just the technicals, I think that at some point we're going to come back not only to the bottom of this channel here where we are here, but the previous resistance here, right? Let me just darken this up a little bit. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it just makes sense, right? We're channeling up. Why not pull back a little bit before we retest some of this level here where we made all-time high in the past and then rip it, right? I think we might have a red week or two, depending on what happens with earnings. And then after that's digested, maybe we just rip it to the upside, right? Who knows? But that's my thesis. I think that we just hold this channel for now. The fact that we had an inside day on Thursday. Just zoom into it. We had this inside day here on Thursday. We did break up to the upside and make a new all-time high on Friday. And then sellers stepped in and brought it back down, right? Let's go to the 60-minute. Sellers, we came to test this high, ripped it to the downside, opened up, kind of formed an inside candle. Buyer stepped in. So it's a good sign that buyers are here. And then made a whole new high and then ripped it right back down. The one thing that I like about this on the 60-minute chart for SPX is that we are forming sort of a trend here to the upside. And I'm going to change this so we don't get confused. And by we, I mean me. There. And so we do have this kind of, this rising support level. But then we also have this resistance level, which looks like it might be a little bit stubborn. So that's what I'm just, again, I'm not trying to go into this with any bias. I'm just pointing out what I see. If you see something differently, go ahead and you can share it and we can discuss. But otherwise, this looks like a potential rising wedge, which usually breaks to the downside. So that's what I'm just looking at for now, right? Next one is QQQ. QQQ is leading the charge to the downside already. We didn't have an inside day on Thursday. We had a down day. Buyers came and brought it back up and brought the price back to close where the previous volume level was. And then the next day, which was Friday, it came down to pretty much fill this gap, from the gap up. And then you see a little bit of buying pressure at the bottom of this candlestick, but not much. But it's also not insignificant, right? So looking at it on the 60-minute, there's a little bit of divergence here, which is not like totally unexpected. And what I mean by that is like, obviously, SPX is like currently forming like a rising wedge, and QQQ is forming a falling wedge. These usually break to the upside. Rising wedges usually break to the downside. it looks like this gap has been completely filled. Let me just take a look. Yeah, this gap here has been filled, and you see price came back to this level, and you see how buyers just brought the price right back up. See on this candlestick there, brought the price right back up here. Same thing here, here, here. Lots of lower wicks. So there's a potential for this to break to the upside. And this is just like obviously like in a vacuum, right? We don't know exactly how this thing is going to behave. I like this volume node right there, and then we got that level there. So if we do break to the upside, then I will be targeting 430 towards the end of the week, depending on when the move occurs. But again, this might just go sideways right along this line right here all week until Microsoft and Apple and all them report. That's going to be a big indicator of where QQQ goes. QQQ is weighted like, I don't know, 60 or 40% or something between Microsoft, Apple, Google, Netflix, Meta, maybe some Tesla sprinkled in there, right? So, but otherwise I see a falling wedge that might break to the upside. So just keep that in mind. Let me go back to QQQ for a second. I wouldn't mind if it came back to retest this level here at 420.57-ish, right? Which is the low of this day, the low of this day, Tuesday. I wouldn't mind if it came back down to that level, down to the weekly low. Just because, you can reestablish yourself, find some support there. This is obviously similar to SPX. This must have been a previous all-time. Oh, actually, no, this is well beyond the all-time high. I would just love for it to find support at this level, come back, like test it once, come back, test it twice, and then from there work its way up. Let the 50 catch up, right? We'll see. At the end of the day, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If we do break down below the low of day on Friday, then I think that the first level is going to be here at around. Let me just get it here, 421.93, followed by 420.57. There's also like little gaps here. There's like a tiny little gap right here, which may or may not get filled at some point, and there's a pretty big gap here that might get filled. So we'll revisit some of these gaps. Let me go ahead and just draw them on the chart so that we have them there. Let's see. Okay. Got that. And then the next one is right there. A couple little gaps there to the downside. So we'll see what happens. All right. XLE. XLE's been absolute ripping. It hit this spring down here, which is a Wyckoff method way of seeing things. It really depends on how you like to trade. And there's also, looking at this now, there's also sort of like a broadening formation happening over here. I'm just going to draw this very loosely. Let's see. Which basically, for those that are aware, you already know what this means. But otherwise, if you're not aware of what a broadening formation is, it's basically price moves. It has a small range here, and it expands the range to the upside and downside, trying to find, discover how far it can go in both directions, right? And you see it looks like kind of like a megaphone kind of pattern. So sometimes people connect the lows and the highs to kind of see what is possible in terms of price discovery. I'll set this one here. That's a little bit better. Set that one there. Right, you see how price is like working its way up, coming back down, working its way back up a little bit higher, down a little bit lower. So that's very interesting that XLE is currently in that kind of broadening formation, which means break above this line here, which is high of day at 84.28. We got the 100-day moving average right here at 84.59-ish. And then above that, you got some previous highs here that you want to target, but the ultimate target for this would be, I would call it for now, to be a little bit more conservative, I would call it 86.75, right? Which is basically where these pivots are here. This pivot here, which came back into play over here, I would call that, that's going to be the target. Less aggressive, a little bit more aggressive would be obviously up here at the top of the fan, which would be 88.20 or so for XLE, right? So Oxy, XOM, etc. Some names that are reporting this week. So, those are good catalysts for this to rip to the upside. And Oxy and XLE, they perform well when it comes like wartime energy, right? Energy becomes squeezed and then the price kind of increases. So think about what we've been through in the past year, right? So that's XLE. Next one is XLF. Financials. Our target for the other week was 38.71, which was I believe there was a weekly pivot on it somewhere over here. So 38.71, I think we cleared it and we pushed back a little bit. This hit 38.72 and pushed back a little bit. So these levels are still intact. If we do fall to the downside, we got 37.80 as a final target with all the support sitting here. Otherwise, if we continue to the upside, I got 39.40. Let's keep it simple. 39.40 for this week. Let's do 39, 39.50, and then 40 from there. Those are going to be your targets to the upside. I would keep my eyes on JP Morgan, keep your eyes on Bank of America. But again, some of these names are reporting this week. Let's see which one of the banks that are reporting. BMY. Oh, BMY is not a bank. Sorry about that. BMY is science. Let's see. I don't see any. I know this bank name. Oh, SoFi, but I don't feel like SoFi really counts. I'm just looking through the list to see, wasting time looking through the list to see which one of the banks are reporting. Yeah, I know there's another bank. See, now the interesting part is like Apple might talk about their partnership with Goldman Sachs, which I believe is finally completely over, which is a catalyst for the bank sector. SoFi, which is fintech, technically acts as a bank. Is this Bristol Myers? Is that what they are? Lending Club is going to be a catalyst for banks. They have earnings this week. Who else? MasterCard. And MasterCard is going to be a catalyst for financial sector. Also, Jay Powell, whatever Jay Powell says is going to be big catalyst for this sector. So there's a lot. There's a lot this week. It's not as abrupt and in your face as like a JPM, a BAC, a GS, a CS reporting, but I think there's still catalysts for the banking sector this week. So IWM, we got a nice little bounce out of break of support, nice little bounce. And now we're flagging, right? We got this nice strong move to the upside, and price is kind of stuck in this pattern here. It almost looks like a diamond pattern, but I'm not really too good at those, so I'm not going to go ahead and confuse anybody with that. It almost looks like a double inside day, although we had the inside day here, and then we broke above this high. We broke Thursday's high on Friday, but the range is still very, very tight. If you do a 2-day chart on this, let's see if it's going to work out in my favor. Not really. What I was looking for was the low of this day is 194.09, right? And then the high of this day is 198.59. And these three candlesticks are well within this high and this low, right? So we're still ranging within these two candlesticks. So we're discovering price within these two candlesticks. You see that the lows keep getting a little bit higher. Some of these highs are getting a little bit lower. So I think there's an interesting spot for IWM. Russell 2000. So, they have 2000 tickers that they take into account. This week, I know Microsoft, there's some really big names, and a lot of these names this week are within the Russell. So expect a big move coming out of this, whether up or down. And let's see, just to zoom out, let's go to the weekly. Yeah. So SPX and QQQ are right above all-time highs or near all-time highs. Actually, they're both above all-time highs, whereas Russell is not. Russell still has a little bit of ways to go. I believe Amazon this looks exactly like an Amazon chart to me. So I believe Amazon is one of the names in this that's heavily weighted. But what I like about this is a weekly, right? We have this channel on a weekly, and you see prices. It broke above the highs of the channel. It didn't take out these highs here, but it did break above the highs of the channel, and it came back, retraced, and found some support. And now it looks like it's working its way back up. So I think that there's a potential for this to continue. I think that one of the names that you see reporting this week are going to be a catalyst for IWM to rip and get out of this. I believe this is a stage 1 consolidation or whatever this dude, forget the guy's name. The 4 stages of price action, right? This is a consolidation stage, and it's a consolidation after a little bit of a downtrend, right? We have consolidation down here, then we got the uptrend, then we got the consolidation up here, then we got the downtrend. Consolidation down here, uptrend, consolidation, downtrend, right? So that's where we are right now with this. It looks like we're starting to enter the uptrend, especially with this channel here. And then when you zoom out and you see this, you see all this price back here, you see that maybe there's a potential for this to reach 206.35, 210-ish, trade above 210, kind of hold there. Throw some other fundamentals like previous resistance becomes future support, et cetera, et cetera. Good price action up here will bring us higher, right? And then all-time high for this is right around 230 something. Is at 236.72. So we're not far off, but we do have to get out of this channel first before we can work our way into those levels. Amazon. Now, what I mean by Amazon, you see it had that stage, that breakout, consolidation, breakdown, and then not the cleanest consolidation, but price went sideways a bunch, came back, retested previous highs, and now is working its way up to make all new 52-week highs, right? All new yearly highs, well, not yearly, but 52-week highs, 12-month highs. So for Amazon, I think there's a continuation move to the upside. We did have a nice rip to the downside off of this fib level, trend-based fib, right? We had this beginning, the A, the B, and the pullback to the C, and that's how you get these fib levels, these levels in yellow. And then price will just interact with these levels in the future, right? You got all this, broke it, found support on the 50-day moving average, bounced, came back, bounced, and now we're working our way into making new highs, right? So this week, I want to see it hit that 162.24. I want to see it continue the trend. Only thing is, Amazon reports earnings this week on Thursday, and they beat the last report. Let's see, they beat on both ends. They beat on earnings per share as well as revenue. And let me just see, 0.796, 165.95, 0.796. So they guided down on their earnings. And what was it? 143, 141, 165. So they're increasing their revenue, but they're guiding down on earnings, which is interesting. Usually they'll both go in the same direction, but that revenue number is going to be the main one, I think, to watch. Earnings per share after this, I want to hear them guide up. I want to hear them say that come next quarter they're going to try to. Oh, actually, look, estimate was 0.585. 0.796. Oh, okay. So it actually did increase. All right, cool. So both increased. Show of strength, which is no wonder this has been ripping. So you want to hear them bring the earnings estimate higher and the revenue estimate higher. You want to hear that they beat and the next quarter is going to be even higher, right? That's what you want from Amazon. Which I don't know if it's going to be higher simply because they're doing One Medical now. I don't know if they acquired One Medical or they started up One Medical. They had the Amazon Pharmacy, all these new products and all these new ventures as part of their business cost money. These things cost money, so, and shareholders aren't very forward looking like that. Some of them are, some of us are, right? Some of us are like, oh, okay, we're in this for the long haul because we know that this company, like Amazon, is a forever stock for me personally, right? But some people don't want to hear that. Some people want to hear you making money today, right? So, but anyway, I think all those acquisitions and those new parts of the venture, right? The final, the last mile, or whatever it's called, delivery, which is basically Amazon delivering to your door instead of FedEx and UPS delivering Amazon packages to your door. They have it already in a bunch of places. They have it here in Brooklyn. Things like that cost money. So I expect them to say, hey, this costs us money. But if they say, but we still beat our earnings estimate and our revenue estimate, then that's a killer. That's absolute monster. And this from there, it can easily get up to like this 175 level, right? Now, I don't really want to talk about where it's going to go just because earnings, you don't know where it's going to send it. But I would like for it to hit at least this 162.24 level this week. Maybe even trade between these two yellow lines here. I'll be fine with it. It really comes down to what happens with earnings. Next one is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is at all-time high right now. Fresh highs, making new highs every day. I think it's like 13 days in a row of making highs. I remember when Tesla was moving like this. So NVIDIA is a absolute monster. You want to see break of Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday highs to target this 660. 660 is a key level in the Fibonacci, and then 650 is just going to be a psychological level, right? $650. Oh, NVIDIA's at 650. Let me take profit, right? So just keep that in mind. Those will give me my targets for the upside. In terms of downside, break below Friday's low, and then we can target the high of Tuesday, which is also the point of control for Monday's volume, right? Let's look at the weekly real quick. Yeah, I mean, this weekly says, so we have all this consolidation. The consolidation is, and I'm going to give you a tip on measured move. The consolidation is, and it might actually be done, for being honest, just for like this round. You have that much consolidation. You take this, and then you get your breakout point right here. And then let me see if there's a tool to rotate this. That would be great. Let's see. 661. Let's see. How do I do it? I knew there was a way to do it. I just haven't done it in such a long time. Basically, you take this and you rotate it 90 degrees, and that gives you your target to the upside, right? It's like a measured move. However long it's been coiling is however long it's gonna break out. So I can't really do it with this chart, and I'll figure it out. I'll have it ready for next week. But point is, a breakout move like this was expected. Same thing with Costco. You saw Costco was consolidating for such a long time. Costco's gonna break out for such a long time. So I do like it to the upside. I want to see it continue. Now, if we do pull back, I want to see it hold this 600 level. We could just call it 600 at that point. Maybe dip its toe underneath the 600 level, and then I want buyers to step back in. If it breaks that 600 level, then I think Nvidia might be in a little bit of not trouble, but it might just come back to the 50-day. Right, it might just pull back and give us an additional entry for the 50-day. But with the strength that I see in the sector and overall in the market, and with all these partnerships, specifically like Tesla is partnering with AMD allegedly. I want to see Apple talking about NVIDIA. I want to see Apple talking about QCOM. Right, all these kind of things going on. I think it bodes well for NVIDIA. So we'll see. Boeing. This is my daily. Yeah, Boeing. It might have a double bottom here. Right, it might have a double bottom here. I just want to see what this inside day does. I'm gonna go ahead and remove drawings. I just want to see what this inside day does. So I'm gonna go ahead and set an alert at the highs and lows. Boeing looks like it might be. Let's look at the 2-day. Strong gap to the downside. Might be forming an H. It really depends on whether buyers or sellers take control of this. If sellers take control tomorrow, then this can work its way all the way down to 190. Right. Break down below Thursday's low, right? Friday's low, Thursday's low, and then from there work its way to 190. Now, if we do break to the upside, this is a nice play. I mean, one way or the other, I think it's a good play. There's nothing but bad news in the market for Boeing right now, so I don't see any reason why it would go up. But but break above Friday's high, got Thursday's high, and then you get the 100-day moving average. Break below Friday's low, got Thursday's low, and then you got this area where there was a previous support back here for Boeing. That's what I'll be looking at. Actually going to set my alerts on this. Boeing the $200 level might act as a support for Boeing. So just keep that in mind if you're interested in trading Boeing. CVS, not in love with it. I'm not in love with it right now. I'm not going to talk. I mean, the one thing that's notable is it bounced off the 200-day moving average. Oh, this is my 200, right? Let me just take a look. Yeah, this is my 200. That yellow line is my 200. So going back to Boeing, it might come back to that 200-day first on a retest, but I mean, it did 4 days in a row before it fell. So, that makes it a little bit more interesting. CVS bounced off the 200-day moving average, made a new high on Friday. CVS can easily break above Friday's high. Not a lot of sellers on this candlestick. And then we can target 73.41, and then we can target these lows here. And then we can target the where the majority of volume is on this in this area, right? All this volume. There. You see those 3 green lines? That's where all the volume is. Right at the 50-day moving average. So that would be a decent spot for CVS. I'm gonna go ahead and set my alert above the high of day. I want to see it break clean for CVS. And CVS, sometimes it really pays. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. They had earnings this week, and I believe they have earnings coming up next week. They had a dividend last week, and they had some news last week. I mean, I don't know. I just have my alert set to the upside. If we get a nice move, we can retest that 200-day move or that 50-day moving average rather. So let's see what's up with it. JPM forming a massive cup and handle. Where did I get this previous high from? Interesting. All right, so we got a nice strong move to the upside, pull back, found some support, good buying pressure here. Day after earnings, right? They fell on both revenue and earnings per share, and still working its way back up after making the new high and selling off. So that's showing strength. I want to see a rip above that 172.96 level. Above that, we got 173.80 and we got 176.31. With JPM, you have to be aware of what's going on with the rest of the market, with what Jay Powell says, and with how some of these bank adjacent companies report that are going to have little hints in there as to where this is going to go. But usually, like XLF, the way XLF is moving is the way JP Morgan is moving. So, and JP Morgan gives you nice, strong moves. Like, look at the range on this day. We had a high of 176.31, a low of 168. Right, that's almost a 10-point move. It's about an $8 move. So imagine like getting puts out the money $2 or something like that, and you're rewarded, right, by holding it. So just keep that in mind. We have a nice consolidation pattern here too on these 2 days. So it could rip to the upside, rip to the downside. Really depends, but I'm favoring it to the upside personally, just because of what's going on in terms of macroeconomics. I know that Jay Powell mentioned last year at the end of the year that they're planning on doing 4 rate cuts this year. Rate cuts are phenomenal for banks, right? So let's see what happens. We got an inside day on Tesla. Tesla, I believe, is going to go lower. I have my channel showing us it might come down to like that 165 level. Break down below the inside day. Break down below Friday, get Thursday underneath that. 180, 175, 170, 165. That's going to be how I play it to the downside. I would love if Tesla comes down underneath here, like at 170. All I'm telling you is, I think there's a potential for this to go higher at some point in the future. Maybe not today, maybe not this week or this month or even this year. But I think that Tesla's approaching some prices where it might be at a decent value, especially if it gets down here. I mean, look at what happens at the 100 level mark. It just rips. So I don't know if it's going to get that low. We're currently just sitting at this pivot here. Let me just mark it. We're currently sitting at this pivot here, which was the end of a downtrend, right? Strong uptrend. Found some sellers, head and shoulders, break to the downside. Came down to this level, bounced. Came back to it again, bounced, and then ripped and made new highs. And we're currently trading at that level. I don't know if there's still any buyers left over from the last time that, way back then. It does consolidate on this every once in a while. Look at all the consolidation along this level here. And then it broke underneath and it came back up and kind of went sideways on it a couple of days before ripping. So it's just an interesting spot. If we do break down, I mean, we can go up or down, right? But if we do break down, I would imagine it would probably break down, maybe retest it and then work its way further, or break down and then come back up and retest it. But this is just an interesting level to have on the chart. This, what is this? 182.33, just an interesting level to have on your chart. Again, I'm pointing downside, especially with this strong move down, consolidation for about 5 days, and then just rip down on earnings, right? And that's another good example, like the consolidation before the earnings. That's what I expect on some of these names this week: Apple, Google, Microsoft, etc., Meta. Looking at Etsy, we have a potential H, but then we also have a potential double bottom. It really depends on how much you squint your eyes. Let me get rid of some of these. I'll keep those. So get rid of so we do have. It's in a good spot only because we have this local high and this local low. We have this low that's a little bit higher. So what I see here is a wedge that's clearly forming. I like wedges. I like, they give you clear targets. Just gonna make this one a little uglier. Let's look at the 60 on this real quick. Yeah, I mean, price is just, this is like the reverse of a broadening formation, right? It's a narrowing formation, and this is basically not buyers and sellers in full control trying to take it as high or low as they can. This is like buyers and sellers are sitting at the table discussing whether we want to break it higher or lower. Sellers bring it a little bit lower. Buyers are like, all right, that's enough. Buyers bring it a little bit higher. Sellers are like, all right, that's enough, right? And it gets kind of to a point where, quote unquote, to a breaking point where price either breaks to the upside or to the downside based on who wants to retain control of this stock in the long term. So Etsy's been a pretty strong downtrend for quite some time. Even if you look at it from like back here, it's making like higher lows from back here. It's making lower highs from up here. So it's just been an agreement in this level between this high here around $102 and this low here at 58 and change. It's doing it again, right? From here, it might rip down and then bounce off that support, or it might rip up and try to test that 50-day moving average. But we'll see. No rush, no reason to rush into this, especially since it's inside that range, forming that pennant. Just let it do its thing, and we'll come back to it next week. Netflix, absolute rip. I had drawn this rising support level as the last time we had this call into this previous level of resistance, right? And and it held. Basically, it came and retested this resistance as support, found support, had earnings. The earnings, there was a little bit of a beat on the revenue, a little bit of a miss on earnings per share, but revenue is good. Revenue is probably the number one driver here. You want to know that a company is still bringing in revenue, especially like having been out for so long. They're producing original content now, and I think that the original content is actually really, really good, right? It's really entertaining. They got some big names in their shows now, so I think it's interesting and it's good that they're still producing revenue. I know that they've also increased their prices and they've also stopped family sharing. So all just really good stuff for the shareholder, not so much for the consumer, but for the shareholders, great. Strong rip to the upside. Thursday's price broke above Wednesday's price by $1, and Friday's price broke above Thursday's price by $13. What is it? Yeah, about $15 or $16 or so. So there's a potential for continuation here. If this falls, I want to see it kind of hold some of these levels. I'll just set the low of day. That's fine. Otherwise, Netflix can get to 600 pretty quickly if it keeps the momentum. If we get that earnings drift, that earnings drift can bring us into 600. So let's see what happens. And 600, I would expect to be an area where Netflix is going to fall down pretty hard. Look at all these sellers over here. All these sellers in this area. Right, pretty much all of this is all sellers, all the way down to like here where you get your first green candle on January 10th of 2022. So over a little bit under 2 years ago, right? So we have all this sell pressure that I bet you there's still some sellers sitting in some of these levels. This looks like a very, very clear supply zone to me. So what that means is as Netflix approaches this, you're going to see a little bit of indecision, a little bit of maybe if sellers take over, a little bit of pushback, but we'll see what happens. Take it day by day. But I do like it for a continuation, especially with the earnings drift potential to get into 600. Next one is TSM. TSM has been on a tear. It ripped up through the broadening formation here. They reported earnings. They beat on both ends. Just overall strength in that sector. Now we're just drifting our way up. So I want to see it hold 115.76. I got the target for 119.43 as the high if we do hold that 115.76. And then above that, we got 120, 122, 124. But for the meantime, we'll just play these three numbers here. 119.43, 117.50, and 115.76. If it can't get above 117.50, then you play puts to the downside. Peel some off at this 115.78. Underneath that, we got 112 and change. So that'll be your final target. And then above 117.50, we can play the 120 calls or the 119 calls or whatever and work our way up into some of these levels here. And then once we get above that 120 or underneath this 115.70, whatever it is, 76, then we can set some new levels to the downside. But it's in a spot where it can go either way. I think it's going to continue to move to the upside. I think that there's going to be some interesting talks of AI and its relationship with semiconductors and chips in some of these larger earnings this week. So we'll see. DKS finally filled my gap. Nice cup and handle. Here's your handle. Rip to the upside, and it's just making all new highs. Is this all-time high? Yeah, we're at all-time high right now. So interesting spot for DKS. Once things get to all-time high, I think they continue. They had good earnings. They paid out their dividends. $1. Interesting. They paid out the dividends. So we want to see these three levels here hold as support. Definitely that 148.83 level that was previous resistance, acted as support on these days. If we do get the pullback, we might act as support once or twice more before continuing. But I do like it to the upside. Very, very clean, clean price action to the upside. Coinbase, I was expecting this to break down a little bit further. I still feel like it's going to do it, but you do see that some buyers stepped in. You see where this wick is. Some buyers stepped in at this level and are keeping the price right at this level. So as long as we remain above this level, I think we can go back to the 50. If we do break down below this level, below the low of day on Friday and again on Thursday, I'm just going to remove everything, start fresh. We got some targets here to the downside. I just think based on the price action for the past week, all this sideways action, pretty much in the range of this candlestick, shows me that there's a lot of buying pressure sitting in this level and that's going to go back up. That's what it just feels like to me, right? I've been checking Coinbase every day to see what it's going to do. And it's not really going up, not really going down. But the fact that it's not going down, ripping down, after strong, bear flag breakdown, not so much of a breakdown here. It just seems like that move might be done. We'll see. We say your pivots here. Yeah, coin. Yeah. And then again, like there's a bunch of stuff in the news about Bitcoin. And there's a bunch of stuff in the news just overall with Bitcoin adjacent industries, like assets such as Mara, such as Riot. And this is just a basing pattern where there's a bunch of buyers sitting in this candlestick here. This looks like it wants to go back and test that 50-day. So, I mean, it's very easy for this to just rip to the upside and go back to that 50-day. So we'll see. I had it to go lower, but I'm not pressed. I'm not pressed. I'm not taking it personally either. Next one is Snow. Snow is currently sitting in an area where there was a bunch of resistance in the past. Let's see. Yeah, a bunch of resistance, bunch of sellers sitting in this level here. You see those wicks. Let me zoom in on this area. You see all this sell pressure sitting here. And when it reached this area, ripped down, came back, retested it, and then ripped down, it fell into a downtrend. So now that we're back in this area, you see a bunch of sellers, a little bit of selling pressure, kept it here, bounced it down. And now it's working its way up above all this previous resistance here. A little bit of buy pressure here. I want to see another candlestick form on this line, a green candle, right? I want to see price jump from this line up. I want to see a candle form and break above the high of Friday before I take any action on it. But I do like where it's at right now. I just want to see previous resistance become current support. That's what I want. Semi-alert for the high of Friday, but otherwise very, very clean. Holding trend, making new highs and new lows. So let's see, continue to hold. And if it breaks down below this level, I want to see you absolutely hold $200. $200 is the absolute must hold for Snowflake to work its way to the upside. Let's look at the weekly on this real quick. Yeah, Snow has been like at 400 and stuff in the past. So just an interesting place. And then again, we have that consolidation pattern. We got the strong rip down, good sideways price action for a very long time, right? Very, very long time. Ever since May of 2022 until now, it's now starting to break out of that wedge. So that being said, all that sideways price action, nice strong move, consolidation, looks like a bull flag right here. And now it's working its way up. This can easily get to, and then this is like, again, where I would use like that measured move. I'm going to go ahead and just take that and just literally move it to where the breakout would start right around here. Will bring us at right around 260. So 260 is in the future and then 260 is a previous support here, right? So it'll bring us right to 260 maybe in the next couple of months. So I really like where this is at right now, especially that weekly brings it all into perspective for us, for Snowflake. The next one is Uber. Let me take a quick sip. Uber. $270 is 50% of all-time high to all-time low. Let's see. 1 week. For my fib. All-time high, all-time low. And let me just 50%, 269.63. So S is targeting 270. Well, I think, yeah. I mean, what did I do? I did this. I think that mine is going to be just shy of 270, but I think that's okay. There. Yeah, I mean, this looks like it wants to get to 261.37. 269.63 is 50% retracement. Did I do that? Yeah, this is lower. 269.63 is 50% retracement from high to low. So that is probably a better target. This is probably a better target. Here, let me just go ahead and draw it. And then you see buyers and sellers, how they interact with this level. Right? Oops. Oh. Excuse my language, guys. You see how buyers and sellers interact with it, right? In the past, it's acted as resistance, then it's acted as support, and then resistance again. And then over here, we formed a nice little doji on a weekly on it. Interesting week here. And then it kind of fell down, went sideways on it, and then ripped down. So we can work our way ultimately to 270. I would say within the next 6 months, maybe by June. By June, it's very, very easy that this could be at 270. That was Coinbase. Or sorry, that was Snowflake. Next one is Uber. Uber is currently sitting at all-time high. Uber ripped through previous all-time high. Sellers stepped in, then buyers came back and brought it back up. Came back and retested previous resistance as support, and then ripped, put a strong candle in on Thursday. Inside bar on Friday. Now there's a potential 3-bar play loading here on Uber. For those of you that are not familiar with the 3-bar play, look up the hell's this guy's name? Is it William Wesley or something like that, or Wesley something? Just go on YouTube and look up Wesley 3-bar play. But basically, what it is a strong igniting bar. That's number one. That's the first rule. Second rule is breaking previous resistance, which it did. Third rule is resting bar right after it. Jared Wesley, yes, thank you. A resting bar right next to it. Not really retracing 50% of this initial bar and not really breaking up above it too high, right? So nice potential resting bar here. What a 3-bar play does is basically it takes this move, right? That's the first bar. The second bar is a resting bar. And the third bar would be the break of the high of the first bar here. And then it puts in a bar pretty much equal to the first bar. Sometimes this can become a 4-bar play, which means, one candlestick goes here and this other candlestick goes here, or another resting bar before it does the move, right? But you like to see basically, and again, it's all patterns, but what we like, let's just describe it as price action. Price ripped above all this previous resistance, made a new high, and then strong candlestick, much bigger than what you see here in these few past candlesticks. And the next day, sellers took control, but they couldn't bring it down below 50% of the previous price. And it's kind of just hanging around at the top of the range. Thank you. S just posted it in the trade floor, guys, by the way, if you're unfamiliar. And then the next day or next 2 days, price rips through the range of the previous couple of days after taking its rest to continue the move to the upside. So nice potential for 3-bar play here. I have 66.17 as a trend-based fib level. 68.94 as the next trend-based fib level. And then if I were to run a Fibonacci between these two, just to give you kind of some halfway points, 67.55 is my halfway point between those two fib levels. So that's going to be, and that'll, if we did form a 3-bar, it would land us right there. So I like it. I think it's going to continue to the upside. I'm not sure what's going on with them in terms of news. Like Uber fighting City of Paris over decision to keep passenger cars off certain streets during Summer Olympics. I wouldn't even try to. That's not a fight you want to fight, but maybe it is to them, right? And then they have a bunch of buy ratings at some of these financial analysts, or these institutional banks have them at certain ratings. But I think there's a continuation, especially since if you look at the weekly, right? You had good consolidation, rip down, sideways price action, rip up, good consolidation, rip up, good consolidation, spring, bounce. So I think it's just on a warpath to go. It looks like it wants 70 at some point in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be watching it. 70 calls maybe for March or something might be the play. And I bet you those have a bunch of open interest in it. And they have earnings coming up on the 7th of February, which is next week. So is that next week or the week after? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Oh, it's like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Okay. So Uber, that's Uber. Next one is Visa. Visa made these are fresh highs, fresh all-time highs. Just zoom out. Yeah, these are fresh all-time highs for Visa. And then it put in kind of a weird green candlestick where it opened up way down here. Oh, on earnings, I guess. That's what it was. Opened up way down here at previous support and then kind of bounced. And sellers brought it back down. So so let's see where it finds support. As long as it holds this level at 267.05 or 266.42, I think there's a continuation for an upside, right? And again, this is just holding trend, higher highs and higher lows. This could just easily be a higher low, so I'm not too pressed about it. 264.39 would be the absolute last level where I would want it to hold. Underneath that is going to look very, very weak, right? We want to see it hold around all this consolidation over here. Underneath that, it will absolutely look weak, but if it bounces off this level here at 267.05, I think that buyers are going to step in immediately and bring it up to 270 and 275. So let's keep an eye on it. Costco, let's look at Costco on a weekly for that perspective. We got this wedge that was forming ever since, you don't know really where to start it, but let's just call it 2022, right? Ever since 2022, it's kind of forming, going sideways. And then towards the middle of 2023, it ripped to the upside. Consolidated a little bit more at previous consolidation, right? Previous traffic over here, and then just been on a tear, absolute monster rip. So I don't see any reason for this to stop, especially since it went sideways for so long. It's gonna move for so long, right? Measured move. Let's see. Now looking at it here, it's still holding trend, higher highs and higher lows. This is a local low. It didn't fill this little gap right here, so it might come back and do that. But I do like the fact that on Friday it kind of ripped. It stopped the bleeding and it went and made a new high on Friday. So I'll set the previous day's high as targets. And if for whatever reason we do break down below Friday and Thursday's low, we got a little bit of a gap. I'll go ahead and set my final target to right around where the volume is here, 672, where this volume is for these couple of days, right? So good risk reward in both directions. I think it's going to continue to the upside. A lot of strength. They have a dividend payout coming up in a couple of days, February 1st. So what day is that? Wednesday? Dividend payout. So interesting. Lulu has fallen straight into the 50-day moving average, and buyers like it here. They've kind of ripped and brought us right back into Friday's high, and then sellers brought it back down. So I want to see Lulu hold this 50-day moving average. You know what? This play can stay intact, right? It did break down, but it's good. I think it's still a great play. We did enter long on the break of Friday. I mean, we never broke Friday, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we just never broke Friday, so never initiated the play. I love the fact that it held the 50. It formed kind of a higher low here. So I want to see it work its way into this play. And all these levels are still intact, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you want to take a note of the levels, we got entry at 484.75. You could target 500 calls. You could target 515 calls, depending on how much time you want to put on it. And then you can set your stop at, you could even bring this stop down. There's enough meat on this bone where you could bring the stop down to the 50-day. And you still have a 3.47 to 1 risk reward ratio. So as long as it holds at 50-day, I think it's valid for the upside. As says, I have alerts on Lulu for last week's high, last week, inside week, and a double hammer over the past 2 weeks. So yeah, so we got the inside week, and then we got that little tweezer bottom, double hammer, which basically means there's a bunch of sellers sitting at the bottom of this price action. So yeah, inside bar, even better. Inside bar, break to the upside. You can actually bring this entry down to the break of the high of this week, and then break to the upside, and we can target this previous high over here. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful setup. Thank you for that. That's a beautiful setup there. So Lulu should be on everybody's watch list this week. What do we have? On track with growth strategies, as according to Zach's price target maintained at 500, according to HSBC. They changed it from to hold from buy, so they removed their buy rating, but they're still targeting $500. Still good. I love the fact that it's holding this 50-day more than anything else. And that tweezer bottom, that double hammer is very, very bullish for Lulu. Twilio, do I have anything on Twilio? Let me look at my notes. I mean, yeah. All right, so here's a good play for Twilio. Twilio is, let me flatten this a little bit. Twilio is currently sitting at the edge of that downtrend or that rising support level. It's not the best, but break below that, we could target the 50, right? So that's like a $2 move to the downside. I'd rather let it come down to the 50, see if buyer step in, and then play calls, or see what happens after this 50. If it breaks down, play puts underneath that. I'm actually going to go ahead and set my alert for the little day and kind of see what happens, but I don't know. I don't see anything. It's all right. I mean, you could play down to the 50, or you could just wait till it hits the 50. Carvana sitting out underneath previous resistance. Buyer stepped in here, and I don't know what it right now. DocuSign, yes. Look at this beauty. DocuSign, absolute beauty. Absolute beauty of a chart. A lot of these levels that I posted here are still intact. Strong rip up on earnings, came back, retraced, went right back to the area here, and consolidating. This is like the cleanest flag I've ever seen in my life. So, obviously with this, you got to kind of let it break above this range or below the range. I'm just going to set my alert, top and bottom. Below this range, we can break down below that level here. We get us to 59.69. Underneath that, we could target 58-ish. Underneath that, we could target 56.50 or so. Break to the upside, which is what I'm anticipating with such a strong move up and then strong retracement here. I think this can get to 66.90 pretty easily. I think it can get to 70 pretty easily. The last time it was at $70 was back here in February of last year, so just about a year ago. So I do like this for a continuation to the upside. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're not forcing anything. They do have earnings coming up in a couple of months. I think it's too soon for an earnings run-up. And what do I see here? Yeah, I mean, JPM or JMP rather. That's a strategically named company, JMP Securities. JMP has $84 per share, and Zax is calling it a strong growth stock. So, which I agree. DocuSign, I think, it can grow, but I don't know how strong of a growth stock it is. HLT, Hilton, just strong move up. I think there's a continuation, right? We had nice move to the upside, little pullback, filled the gap, and then continuation move to the upside. I don't think this is all-time high. Is it? Oh, it is. It is all-time high. So we're sitting at all-time high for Hilton. I would just think, maybe like March 200s, right? March 200s. I bet you Airbnb is in a direct inverse relationship to this chart. Let's see. You hear the sirens? Yeah, I can't even. I tune them out. I don't even hear them anymore. But Airbnb chart actually looks really good. Interesting. All right, let me just take a look. I thought it would be inverse for some reason, but Hilton looks very strong. I think there's a continuation. While we're here, let's just do Airbnb. I think this is just a beautiful chart. And I don't want to miss out on some of these gains. Look at this. This is a very, very nice chart. It almost looks like that DocuSign chart. I hope that I filter out those sirens for a YouTube crowd. Let's see. Yeah, so we got above this pivot. Like we tested it. We made a new high above it, but seller stepped back in. I want to see it hold that level. I want to see a break above 151.16. Hold that level. From there, we can work our way into 155 and then 158.75. So I'm going to go ahead and set my alert for Airbnb for right around this level. This is a very, very clean chart. Good, strong bounce off the moving averages, right? The 200 and the 50-day moving average. And we got that golden cross, The 200 they caught back up to the 50. Then we got another additional golden cross. I love when this happens, when the 50 crosses down and back up. I love when that happens. So there's a potential for this to really, really get going. Airbnb. I'm gonna go ahead and add Airbnb. Sure. Oh wow, they're not. Are they? Oh, they're not. Look at that. Airbnb. Let's go. Never had it on my on my watch list. Very interesting. Line that up. Actually, I can just I'll do that later. All right, next one. Macy's. I see a potential continuation. Macy's doesn't move the way that I like it to sometimes. I mean, sometimes it does. Like, it gives us nice moves here. Good bull flag breakout. Right now, it's in a spot where, bounce off the 50. I want to see it clear all of this area before we get back into it. This is just like kind of like chop land here. So I'm just going to set my alert and we'll look at it in another week. Pinterest. This is S's baby, so I'll let him talk about it. But Pinterest, overall, just giving it a broad overview. Strong move up. So open, some new highs, some new lows. Strong move up in the post-COVID. Strong move down to kind of bring us back to reality. Consolidation, and now kind of working its way and making new highs. Nice little flag here at the end of this on the weekly. Price going sideways, up and down. There's like kind of a broadening formation here too. A little bit, right? Got this. And then we kind of got one right here. It's not the cleanest, but it is what it is. Let's go to the daily. Yeah. So price discovery between some zones. I think that it's making new highs on the new lower highs, new higher lows. So now we have to break out and kind of make a new high here. So let's see what happens. I like this. Maybe we could target the 40 calls for February or for March. And March is like right around the corner, right? Go ahead and actually set an alert. Set an alert over here, $38 for Pinterest. Very, very nice setup. RCL. RCL looks like it wants to target that 50-day moving average. It couldn't fill the gap. Although it tried 4 days in a row and failed. So we got some downside targets here: 122.56, 120.70, 119.27, which is probably where the 50-day will meet it. Otherwise, if we do break to the upside, we got a break and hold 127.42, and then from there we could target 129.50. From there, 130 and change. 130.97 is the local high, and we got a previous high here. Look at all this. Look at all these sellers here. Wow, all these sellers sitting in this area here at 132-ish. So maybe this will get to 132-ish. I'm gonna go ahead and set my alert for RCL. I don't think it's gonna break to the upside because it couldn't do it on these days, but I'm just gonna go ahead and set my alert right around here. See if it undoes some of Friday's price action and works its way up. It's in a strong uptrend, right? Like, it's just been trending upwards, bounced off the 200 a couple times, working its way up, right? So why stop now? And do they have earnings this week? They have earnings on Friday the 1st, February 1st, or Thursday rather. Thursday, February 1st. So let's see, maybe we'll just wait for earnings. Shopify, beautiful consolidation above all this previous resistance here. Bounce off of it and consolidating. Break above 83.19. I think it can target 86. Above that, we can target 89 and then 91 or so. 91 will be the end of this little move here. This little breakout, pull back to the 50% fib continuation move. A, B, C, D. Right, A, B, C, D. That would be the move there. And obviously this would be a little bit more jagged. It would be up, down, up, down, up, down. So it gets all the way to 91. AMD. AMD, I want to see it hold. If it pulls back, I want to see it hold 166.52. Otherwise, I want to see it break above 180.14 and target that 185. Yeah, AMD is an absolute monster. This is beautiful, especially if you're a shareholder. I really wish they paid dividends, but they are absolutely ripping. And if it continues with this momentum, 200 can be in play very, very quickly. Like if I were to say March 200 calls, people wouldn't even look at me crazy. So keep it in mind, guys. I like the March 200 calls. And if it does pull back, I mean, this is also like a logarithmic scale. So this might look a little crazy. Like where we at? 177.25 down to 166.52. That's an $11 drop, but it's not even that bad, right? It's not even that bad. And likewise, $177 up to 185. It did it in one day. It did a $10 drop in one day, so it can do a $10 pickup in one day. You can do another $10 again the next day, and then another $10 the next day, very easily. So loving AMD to the upside for continuation. They have earnings coming up on Tuesday. So I expect with Lisa Su in charge that there's going to be a potential pump. And then, I mean, they've just been beating. The last time they lost was back in November 2022, which November 2022, if you remember, for tech, it was like everything kind of shot too high. And so like everything fell just below their estimates. So point is I like it for a continuation. There's a couple more names I wanted to discuss. Starbucks looks okay. It's sitting at a decent area where there was a bunch of buyers in the past. Previous resistance becomes current support, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Caterpillar is currently at all-time high. Yep, currently at all-time high. I want to see a continuation. We have a nice inside bar on Friday. We have a nice potential for a 3-bar play as well. As long as it holds 298.66. I see no reason why it can't get to like 308 and 310. Right? It can easily print some candles up there. So, and let me go ahead and just draw a quick trend-based. And let me paint this. I'll paint it in green. There you go. Yeah, 306.95, 310.22. Those are going to be your next level. Above the high. Look at how well it followed this pattern. I don't know when I drew this, but it doesn't matter. It's gone now. I like it for continuation to the upside if it can hold some of these levels. You see all the volume on, let's go to the 60-minute. All the volume on Friday's price is slightly higher than the volume on Thursday's price. You see this green line here where all the point of control is slightly higher than the previous day's point of control. That means that buyers brought their level to buy up just slightly by a little bit. And we're well within the range of this candlestick here, this strong candlestick to open the day. So price opened up, came down, retraced about 50% of the candlestick, came back up, came down. Buyers still like it in the area. So our next level is to go back up. And if we can break, then at that point, we can then target 305, 306, 307, 308, 310, 311 for CAT. CCJ, I'm not really ready to talk about CCJ yet. It looks okay, but not in love with it. D-Dog, not in love with it. Duolingo, not really. Duolingo's all right. I mean, there's a potential for a pivot machine gun here. It did break above this high, and then there's some high, it's just like clean targets. That's where the 50-day will probably meet it. So there's your play to the upside. Really good risk reward ratio, especially if you set your stop at the close, which will give you just a monster risk reward ratio, 12-1. You could say your stop at the low, which is still 6-1. You could say your stop at the previous day's low, which is 2.69-1. Give yourself enough room for this to, give yourself enough time and space for this to really develop. That's actually not a bad play. So that's a good one to watch. I'm going to go ahead and set my alert on this. Just set it anywhere so it can just let me know that. Look at it tomorrow. Zscaler, new high. Is this all-time high? Is it all-time high? No. Okay. So this is a previous high. Broke through it, pulled back a little bit. We want to see buyers step in at some of these levels here at 235-ish. You want to see buyers continue to step in, work its way back up above this high. So it's not quite ready yet. There's a potential for a strong move to rip above some of these levels. Like, for example, if we look at this pattern real quick. Right, we got this red candle, we got this red candle, a little bit higher, lower high, lower low. This red candle, lower high, lower low, right? Let's look at, just saw it a minute ago. Couple red candles, lower high, lower low, right? Keep that in mind. So this is a decent example. We got these lower highs and lower lows, and then we got a strong candle to kind of start changing the direction, right? Same thing here. We have these lower highs and lower lows, and there's a candle to start changing the direction. I want to see when it's a little bit more well developed. Oh, perfect. We got these lower highs and lower lows, and we got the strong candle to change direction. That's what I'm looking at for whatever that was. I think it was, what was it, Z-scaler? Let's see. Duolingo has that look too. We got those lower highs and lower lows. We got the strong rip up, potentially. Z-scaler, right? Same thing. We got the lower highs and lower lows. If buyers step in, we got a potential to rip to the upside. So Google inside bar on Friday from Thursday's price action. I think Google reports earnings this week. I think they're poised for a strong move. They don't report until after hours on Tuesday, so we do have Monday if we wanted to trade it. Though I will say I won't be surprised if it just goes sideways. And Google's sitting at pretty much all-time high right now. Yeah, this is all-time high for Google. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just kind of goes sideways here for a little bit. Hey, listen, all-time high with all this new technology, with the potential for it to really make some noise. I think Google can really do some interesting things for shareholders. 6 other media stocks to think about, and Google's listed as potentially. Oh yeah, well, YouTube. So, another thing, they just offloaded a bunch of their people. I forget what the figure was. Was it 10% or was it higher? They just released employment of a certain amount of their people, and it's not good in terms of like society or whatever, but it is good for shareholders. It is good for the company itself to lower the balance on their balance sheet, bring that red line item down, cost them less money. So that's going to be good. They're going to talk about that, I'm sure, unless they have like just really bad shit to say. I think overall, I think it's just a kind of an effect of the cause of bringing all these people, hiring frenzy that they did during COVID and after. I think they're just still equalizing that. So we'll see. But I do like it to the upside. I think with earnings, they might even go rip its way up to the 160s or so. I just want to take a quick look at, I'm just looking at the chains real quick to see if I can find an expected move. Although I don't think we're going to get it. I think it's too early for it, but let's see. Still going to check. There is an expected move, 7.7. So 7.7. So where price currently is at, we got 152, so 159 or 145. 159 and 145. That's the range that this thing has to break in order to not crush IV. 155, 159, which is way up here. 159 and 145, which is way down here. This is the range that Google has to break in order to not crush IV. So, interesting. That's your range for Google. Your expected range for Google for IV crush. And I'll move it up and down as price develops tomorrow. But they have earnings on Thursday. Tuesday. So Google's going to be interesting. Walmart, love this chart. Walmart broadening formation, work its way up, work its way down, right? You see the broadening there. Some price discovery, you see this gap. We do have this gap that's currently on its way to being filled. Strong move to the upside, kind of a cup and handle here. There's your cup, there's your handle, there's your rip, there's a consolidation, continuation, breaking above previous highs. So above 165, right? Above 165, which I think was a target we discussed a couple weeks back. We have 166.94. Above that, we have 170. You just call it 170, right? So I like 170 for March if you want to swing something. Otherwise, we'll be looking at the 165s for this week, just so we can get in the money nice and quick. We're about to get a potential, that 50 crossing through the 200 and then working its way back, under and then over again, which I love to see. Because they'll call it kind of a bearish cross, a death cross, until it crosses right back over. It's just a beautiful thing. So that's Walmart. Next one is X is just sitting around, not doing anything right now. We do want to see a break above this level here, this pivot at 48.98 to work its way up into that $50 mark. It can easily rip down and work its way back to the low here or back into this falling wedge. So, but for now, it's not ready. Apple. Again, Apple reports earnings on Thursday. Apple has that same look where it's kind of forming these lower lows on the daily. The 50 days right here. I want to see what it does with the 50 day. We might have a red day tomorrow because that 50 day looks magnetic for Apple right now, especially with all of this. You know what? I can remove some of these levels. I'm probably gonna regret it, but some of these levels. We got that 50 day that looks absolutely magnetic. Those are your upside levels. I'm not really in love with this. It's fine. Those are some downside levels. The 50 is probably going to reach that 191.09. So let's just see what it does with the 50 day. Again, we might have a sideways day tomorrow. Apple might go down. QQQ might go sideways. SPX might go, depending on where it wants to go. But I think Apple's going to touch that 50. Apple might do a bunch of nothing just because it has earnings, and you know how these things are. So keep that in mind. BABA needs to break above that 50 day moving average in order for it to do anything significant at this point. Go ahead and send my alert. I'm just ripping through Disney. Disney looks very, very nice. Thank you. No, I know it is. Thank you. I'm just well caffeinated. Let's see. But I do appreciate your compliment. Let's see. Disney looks magnificent right now. I can actually remove everything. Just make some fresh ones. Above Friday, we got the high of week. Above that, we got the high of the past 5 weeks or whatever this is. November, the high of November. And then we do have this gap here. I think S was talking about Disney a couple weeks back. So, or even last week, I think. I have such a bad memory. But it is trading within the gap currently. It did jump into the gap, break down, falling wedge, break out, consolidation, inside bar, right? Double inside bar. We had this strong move up. New high came, pull back. Inside bar on Wednesday, inside bar on Thursday. Friday, we broke above Wednesday and Thursday's highs, targeting Tuesday's high, targeting November high, targeting the top of the gap here at 106. Let's see if we could probably get to. I don't like doing this on every dollar increment, but to be honest with you, that's what it's gonna be, right? You can do this a bunch of ways. You can play above this level, play this for this Friday. Let's just say, right? Let's say we're above this level. This level will be this Friday's expiration. This one will be next Friday's expiration. This is the following Friday's expiration. This is the following Friday's expiration. If you like to swing and you want peace, this could be this week's expiration. This could be quad witching for February. This could be the beginning of March, and this could be March quad witching, or February, March, April, May, however you want to do it. 3 weeks ago, Disney had a double hammer on the weekly as well, just like Lulu. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly. Here's one, and here's one. Is it this week's, these couple of weeks you're talking about here? Basically a bunch of buyers stepping in at the bottom of these candlesticks here. All three of these pretty much. All 4 of these weeks. Buyers stepped in. So nice strong rip, breakdown to retest some previous support. Buyers, bringing it right back up. So I think it's in a good spot for continuation. I know that there was a bunch of stuff with DeSantis in the news, but he has currently become a nothing in terms of the way he's affecting Disney. So December low was 89.86, which is where they brought it up here. December low. Let me go to the 1 month. 89 low, 89.64. I have 89.64, but over here, January's low so far has been 88.69. So a little bit, slightly bit lower. Actually, we got a broadening. On starting here. So I just like to draw them out. They might never play out, but I like to draw it out just in case. But yeah, anyway, I think buyers do like it. Obviously, they let it break down a little bit below this low and are ripping it to the upside. You have a nice cup and handle here. I think there's a move to the upside. I think it just continues, right? At the end of the day. What else do we have? I think there was like one or two more that I want to discuss. Let's look at LRCX. LRCX is ugly. It's ugly price action on LRCX. It went straight to 900. Isn't that crazy? That's fucking nuts. It went straight to 900 and then it pulled back right into the fib level, broke down below the fib level. If we can hold 828.56, same thing like TSM, right? Hold that level and then work its way back up. I want to see where it finds support before we can continue to move to the upside. I wouldn't go short on this unless you're scalping it, because this thing can turn around at any moment and rip to the upside, right? So ever since down here when I shorted it at the 200, it's been ripping high highs and high lows. So I want to see where it ends up making a new low before it turns around and makes new highs. Who else? Who else do we want to discuss? Let's look at AAL real quick. Decent move. I want to see what it does. I'll check it tomorrow. Let's look at BMY has earnings this week. Yeah, I mean, this thing has just been on a death slide. It's almost at COVID low. I mean, it's still pretty far off. $40, about $9 off from COVID low. I wouldn't be surprised if this just ripped down the COVID low for earnings this week. Look at BX. BX broadening formation, ripped above, came back, found support on the 50-day, working its way back up. This actually looks really nice. It actually looks very, very nice. Broke above Thursday's high into this gap, and then we got some volume here. 128. I'm just gonna set an alert on this. BX, I like to trade longer time frames, so like monthlies on this. So there might be a BX plate in our future soon. Nice falling wedge, breakout, broadening, new highs, cup and handle, bounce out to 50, maybe continuation. Yeah, there might be something in our future for BX, especially like a couple months out. I remember buying it somewhere over here and trading it. Where was it? It was $40-something. I ended up trading like 60 calls or something and swinging it for, pretty much where it got into the money, but it was 60 calls for like 2 or 3 months beyond the move, and it ended up coming all the way up to like $90 or something like that. And I missed out on all these gains, but it was still like a 300% play by the time I sold it, which was nuts. So maybe there's a potential for that to do it again. I mean, look at all this consolidation, starting to move. So let's see. BX might be in our future soon. I want to see. I want to take a look at Dropbox. Discussing Dropbox last week. Ripped up, consolidated, working its way down. Dropbox is not bad either. Break below Friday. We got previous week's pivot or level of previous Friday's level, and then we got 31.15. This is not so exciting. It does like $1 a move a day, so it's not nothing crazy, but it is a nice setup. Dollar General. I believe, they paid out a dividend recently. You got a nice little downtrend there. And then you have a kind of a support resistance vibe going on here with the 50-day. So there might be a potential move here happening. Break above high of Friday, break through, and maybe work its way into the 141 level. Let's see what else. Airbnb, I like a lot. Let's look at Lyft. Not much going on with Lyft. MasterCard has earnings this week. They have earnings coming up on Wednesday, and they've been beating. I mean, I expect them to beat. The last time they lost was back in 2020. I expect them to beat simply because everything is so expensive now. I don't see people not using their credit cards. So MasterCard, I think, is going to beat. I would have confidence in buying some lottos for MasterCard. Let me check the expected move on MasterCard real quick, and then we'll look at one more, and then we'll call it. Let's see. MasterCard. Visa was a disappointment. Interesting. MasterCard has a 13.2 expected move at this time. Let's look at Visa. Visa reported and then fell and then bounced. So good earnings, but they fell and bounced. Same thing that happened to MasterCard. Maybe we buy time on it. $13 puts us at around $4.50 to the upside. And $13 also puts us at $4.25 to the downside, right where the 50-day will probably meet it, right around here somewhere. So, interesting. That's your range. Above or below that, you need to break in order for no IV crush. But Visa was a disappointment. MasterCard might also disappoint. So I'm gonna go ahead and watch flow on it and like look through the nooks and crannies of the market to see if I can find a strategy for us to play. ON, I bet you was on a rip. Oh, not really. Interesting. Semiconductors. Interesting. They have earnings coming up this week as well. February 5th, next week. Interesting spot for ON. Oxy has earnings as well this week, or a couple of weeks. 14th of February. Oxy double bottom on a daily. 50-day moving average sitting right here. 200-day moving average sitting right here. Interesting. Oxy, interesting. PayPal has been on a lot of names recently. PayPal ripped through the 200-day and then worked its way back down, bounced off the 50-day again. Holding support on the 50, rising support, potential inverse head and shoulders going on here. Neckline sitting at the 200-day moving average. Let's see. PayPal disappointed me. I thought it was ready to go. Roblox. I saw you guys talking about Roblox in a server last week. Roku in a server last week. Snapchat. TGT. TGT looks nice. Let's see. 144. 41. Then 150. 150-ish. And then 157.87 for TGT to the upside. I like it. I'm going to set an alert for it. Pepsi. Break above the 50. Potential pivot machine gun, especially with all that consolidation. What a beautiful set of targets. Right, break above that 50-day and then work his way back up. All right, guys, that's it for me. I am fading right now. I will talk to you tomorrow. Very excited about this week. Again, a lot of economic events in the calendar, as well as many companies reporting earnings. We got FOMC minutes on, what was it, Wednesday, I believe. Was it Wednesday? Let me just take a quick look. Yes, Wednesday, Jerome Powell, FOMC minutes. Lot of it going on. So very exciting. Going to be a fun week this week. So we'll see. Patience and discipline will pay off this week. Thank you guys for being on this call. Much appreciated. If you guys want me to look at anything at the open or before open or whatever, just go ahead and message me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you. Bye.